The apartment had been empty for 11 years. No one had lived there, no one had cleaned it, and no one had dared go inside. But the lights kept turning on every night at exactly 3 a.m. And last Tuesday, someone slid a note under the front door of the building manager's office. It said only 4 words: "I never left." If that already made your skin crawl, you are exactly where you need to be. Hit that like button, share this with someone brave enough to handle it, and subscribe so you never miss a story that keeps you up at night. The darkness is just getting started. Marcus Webb had seen a lot of strange things in his 12 years as a property manager. He had dealt with flooding basements, broken boilers, and tenants who kept goats on their balconies. But nothing had prepared him for apartment 4C. The unit sat at the end of the 4th floor hallway, tucked into a corner where the overhead light had been flickering for years. Nobody ever fixed it. Nobody wanted to go near it long enough to try. The building was called Ashford Court. It was an old 6-story structure on the edge of a small city, built sometime in the 1960s and renovated twice since then. Though renovation was a generous word, the walls were thin, the floors creaked, and the elevator smelled like something had died inside it at some point and simply never been found. Still, it had tenants. Every floor was full. Every floor except the 4th. Room 4C had last been occupied by a woman named Della Marsh. According to the records Marcus kept in a rusted filing cabinet, Della had moved in during the spring of 11 years ago and had paid her rent on time every single month for nearly 2 years. Then one morning, without warning, without telling anyone, she was simply gone. Her furniture remained. Her clothes remained. Even a half-eaten bowl of cereal remained on the kitchen table, the milk long since dried into a hard yellow crust. But Della was gone. The police had investigated. They found nothing suspicious. No signs of struggle. No blood. No forced entry. Her family, a sister who lived 3 states away, eventually came to collect her things. But even the sister had not stayed long. Marcus remembered the way the woman had rushed out of the apartment with barely half a box of belongings. Her face pale, her hands shaking. She'd never come back for the rest. Over time, the belongings that remained became part of the room itself, forgotten, collecting dust, untouched. Marcus had tried renting the space 3 times after that. The first couple moved out after 1 week, citing unexplained noises in the walls. The second tenant, a quiet young man named Peter, lasted 4 days before calling Marcus at midnight in a voice that was barely above a whisper. He said something was standing in his kitchen, something that did not move and did not breathe. He was gone before sunrise and left without asking for his deposit back. The third attempt, Marcus had not even gotten far enough to show the space. The moment he unlocked the door and pushed it open, both he and the potential tenant had smelled something sharp and sweet and deeply wrong, like flowers rotting from the inside. They had closed the door, walked away, and Marcus had never tried again. That was 8 years ago. Since then, 4C had sat sealed. Marcus kept the key on a separate ring, away from all the others. He did not like touching it. So when he found the note on a cold Tuesday morning in November, slid beneath the door of his ground floor office, his stomach dropped before he even finished reading it. The handwriting was neat and careful, printed in dark ink on plain white paper. 4 words, nothing more. I never left. Marcus stood in the doorway of his office for a long moment, the note pinched between 2 fingers, like it might bite him. He told himself it was a prank. The building had a few teenagers on the 2nd floor, and kids like that thought scaring the building manager was the height of entertainment. He threw the note in the trash, made himself a cup of coffee, and went about his day. But that night, at exactly 3 in the morning, his phone buzzed on his nightstand. It was the building's automated system, connected to a sensor panel he rarely looked at. The message read, "Motion detected, Unit 4C." Marcus did not go up that night. He told himself it was a malfunction. Old buildings had old wiring, and old wiring did things it was not supposed to do. He reset the sensor from his phone and went back to sleep. Though sleep was the wrong word for the shallow, restless thing that followed. By morning, he had mostly convinced himself he had overreacted. He went through his usual routine, checked on a leaky faucet on the 3rd floor, replaced a blown bulb in the lobby, and tried not to think about the note, or the sensor, or the way the key to 4C seemed heavier than usual when his fingers accidentally brushed against it. Then the woman from apartment 3D stopped him in the hallway. Her name was Rosa, a retired school teacher who had lived in the building for nearly 15 years. Rosa was not the type to panic. She was steady and sharp and sensible, which was why the look on her face stopped Marcus cold. She told him she had been woken up at 3 in the morning by footsteps directly above her. Slow, steady footsteps moving from one end of the apartment to the other, and then back again, over and over. Like someone pacing, she had assumed someone had finally moved into 4C, and thought nothing more of it until she remembered that 4C was supposed to be empty. She had knocked on the ceiling with her broom handle. The footsteps had stopped immediately. And then, after a silence of maybe 30 seconds, something had knocked back. Marcus spent the rest of that morning arguing with himself. By noon, he had lost the argument. He took the key from its separate ring, rode the elevator to the 4th floor, and walked down the hallway toward the corner unit. The flickering overhead light was doing its usual stuttering thing, throwing the corridor into brief moments of darkness between flashes of pale yellow. Marcus stopped in front of the door. The number on it, a tarnished brass for C, looked back at him without apology. He knocked. He did not know why he knocked. Force of habit, maybe, or a deep instinct that told him courtesy still mattered. Even here, there was no answer. He put the key in the lock, turned it, and pushed the door open. The smell hit him first. Not the rotting flower smell from before. Something different. Something almost familiar, like a home someone had lived in for a long time. A faint trace of cooking and soap and the particular warmth that people leave behind in the spaces they inhabit. It was deeply unsettling because it should not have been there. Nothing warm should have been in that room. The apartment was dim. The curtains drawn. Dust lay thick over every surface. The old furniture Delamarche had left behind sat exactly where it had always been. The small couch, the wooden coffee table, the bookshelf along the wall still holding a row of paperback novels with faded spines. Marcus moved slowly, checking the kitchen first, then the bathroom, then the bedroom. Nothing. No one. Just dust and stillness and that faint, impossible warmth. He was almost at the front door again, almost ready to leave and tell himself it had all been nothing when he saw the bowl on the kitchen table. It had always been there, that dried cereal bowl, hard and yellowed. 11 years of neglect, but now, sitting beside it, was a second bowl, clean and white and recently placed, with a spoon resting inside it at an angle, and the spoon was still wet. Marcus left the building that evening. He told no one why. He simply locked his office, got in his car, and drove to his brother's house across town, where he sat in the bright kitchen and drank tea and watched the clock. At exactly 3 in the morning, his phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Unit 4C. And then, 10 seconds later, a second notification he had never seen the system produce before, had not even known it was capable of producing. It was a sound alert. The system had picked up audio in the unit, a voice. He pressed play with a trembling thumb. The recording was only 4 seconds long. It was barely louder than a breath, calm and quiet and unbothered, as if whoever had spoken was simply stating a fact they had known for a very long time. You left the door open. Marcus never went back. The building was sold the following spring. The new owners found apartment for C fully furnished, 2 cereal bowls on the table, and a key left inside the lock. On the wall, written in dust with one careful finger, were 3 words, "Still not leaving."